Right, you're listening to The Indieshop here on KBH Radio at kbh.org, and we now have the Autumns in studio. Welcome, guys.
Thanks.
If you'd like to introduce yourselves, let me give you a mic here. Sorry, we don't have more than two at the moment.
Matthew.
I'm Frank.
I'm Brian.
Okay, what do you guys all play?
Matthew sings and plays guitar. Zin plays bass. Frankie plays guitar.
Okay, and where do you guys hail from?
Southern California generally, because we all live in different spots now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just basically based here.
Yeah.
And I understand you guys actually moved to San Francisco for a while?
Yeah, we lived up in the Bay Area for about a year. Yeah.
We're hopefully gonna go back.
Actually, let me get...
We're hopefully gonna go back soon.
Back.
In a couple of years.
Is there
Yeah.
something about the area that appeals to you?
Yes, although it's difficult to say what exactly it is, but there's something in the Bay that is better
A general vibe?
than anything else. Yeah, something. I don't know exactly.
Is
Some quality that can't be
Is it just-
uttered.
a desire to be taken apart from the old ska core scene down here?
OC. Well, there's actually not that great of a music scene up there. It's just sort of a vibe, yeah, just sort of a thing. I don't know. The Bay itself.
It's green, the weather, the ocean.
Yeah, the air.
That's enough right there.
Yeah.
The city is much more of a city.
Has a lot more character really than the LA area.
Yeah.
I think.
I'd have to agree there.
Out.
Yeah.
I know we have a few listeners that are up in Berkeley, so I'm sure they'd agree with you.
Oh, that's actually exactly where we were at, was Berkeley.
Oh, cool.
Zin and I
Okay.
were in
There's
Berkeley.
listeners in Berkeley.
We got a few there.
Wow.
So this is internet radio, so we're actually
okay,
global.
okay.
Actually, we have someone in a few people in the UK right now as well. So.
Excellent.
Wow.
This is good. This is, okay. Good.
How long have you been together?
7 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
God,
been a
I think
while.
it's going to be 8 actually. I think in a little bit. It's. Yeah.
I mean, I know you guys have. This is your second. The latest album is the second full length,
Right.
and you have 3 EPs now, right?
Right.
And you're on the
Yes.
verge of releasing a fourth.
Yes.
Yeah, probably in the summer at some point.
I mean, how does it feel to go along that whole time? Do you feel like you've changed much at all?
Yes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of change, especially we started when we were in high school, so it's progressed. Although there's still maybe the same bedrock of influences, but it's it's just changed quite a bit and improved, obviously, from the time we were 17.
So yeah, obviously you guys now take yourselves quite seriously as far as a band goes.
You mean the bandness of the band? Are we serious about the band?
Well, I mean, I'm sure when you first started in high school, it was more of a hobby.
No, we were actually real serious right from the
We were
get-go.
overly zealous. We thought, yeah,
Thought we'd have a record deal within a year, and
every new song was the one.
The
The one that's gonna get us
yeah,
signed.
yeah,
Just
The next-
took 5 years. That's all.
yeah.
And
So-
it's what are your major influences as far, say, back in high school?
High school was just a real Manchester thing. The Stone Roses, the Smiths, Trash Can Sinatras, and so that's where we came from. Sort of how we learned to play guitar was trying to imitate Johnny Marr and failing miserably, but in the attempt to reach that high, we at least made some progress. And then,
With pop.
yeah, it helped with
sense.
general pop sensibility, yeah. And then we got more into some noise bands, and we were in early college, Cocteau Twins and My Bloody Valentine and whatnot. And then that kind of brought the noise element in. And now I would say there's just so much. I think also when you get older, you start developing a little more of your own style. So I'd be less inclined to point out specific influences, because I'm not sure there are as many particulars. I mean, it's just a slew, just from touring and meeting other bands and whatnot. It all kind of rubs off on you.
Right. And
So-
we'll definitely get to a few of the bands that you're into.
Yeah.
Now you guys
Mhm.
brought some CDs in,
Yeah.
And,
a bunch of stuff.
we'll intersperse our interview here with some tracks of your own, of course, and we'll play something off the new album. How long has this been out?
A couple months, I think. Just
2
February.
months. Well, actually, did it come out in February?
The release was really screwed up.
Yeah, the release it was all botched. And it ended up being in stores around March, sometime in March. So
I know there's a lot of
there
drama.
was some confusion.
The
Yeah.
label went bankrupt.
Really?
The record came out anyways.
This was Risk.
Yeah.
Risk.
Risk doesn't exist.
It's
Okay.
no more.
Explains why the webpage won't come up.
Yeah,
Or
there's
why
a
you get a
porn
pornographic
site or something.
webpage
That's
when
true,
you try to
that's
get
true.
there. Somebody else didn't get paid apparently. So
I'll tell you, there was a little group in here, and I was doing some research, and I was trying to pull up the website, and this big old porno picture comes up, and you don't know how fast my hand moved to get it off the screen.
yeah, we just found that actually the other night in the studio.
It's pretty funny, actually.
We're like, oh dear.
We had to erase that link from our webpage. So.
Yeah.
I love the artwork. And
Thanks.
And the title, everything seems to perfectly match the mood of the album
Appreciate
and the
that.
music. And who's responsible for the artwork?
Eric Hammer. He's in a band called Morsa Politica. They're friends of ours from New York, and he's an incredible painter, musician, and also graphic artist, as you can
This
see.
is sweet.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to play track number 6,
Great.
which is Mistral Chimes and Nightfall.
Yeah.
And you guys have when you write, who writes the titles of the songs and the lyrics?
It's so collaborative.
Is it?
Yeah.
The titles themselves seem to be so descriptive.
Yeah.
It's almost as though you don't want to leave anything to risk as far as a translation or...
Well, that's actually an interesting thought, because the obscurity of all the lyrics, the vagueness, or the seeming vagueness of them to people who are reading them leaves a lot to risk, you know what I
Right.
mean? But, yeah, they seem to be, I guess, descriptive of something, highly descriptive of something,
Right.
but what, you know what I mean?
A lot of times it's just
Yeah.
things that we've come across in our reading. I mean, not directly, but we're largely influenced from that, So
Yeah.
bits and pieces of lots of things in there.
Well, this is the new album as it has come out.
Yeah.
And we're going to give away a copy. The first person to email me at indieshop@hotmail.com, I'll mail you out a copy of the album. And it's an excellent album. It's something
Thanks.
that you can just sit there and listen to it over and over.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's beautiful. And this is Mistral Chimes and Nightfall, and we'll be right back. We're back here on the Indie Shop with the Autumns. And you guys want to tell us about those picks we just heard?
Going backwards, that was June of '44. What was the name of the song?
Henry's?
Yeah.
Henry's Revenge, I think.
Is that off
Wait.
the, it's off the In the Fish Tank thing?
Yes.
Number 3?
Yeah.
Henry's Revenge.
Okay. I missed the revenge part.
And then, what came before? Durlux, band from Athens, Georgia. We were in the studio. Actually, we were recording an EP with, we were recording it with Andy Prickett, but Chris Colbert, the guy from Durlux, was in the studio, so we've been spending some time with him, and he just gave that to us last night.
Yeah,
and listened to it.
He helped mix. He helped track, actually. He helped track some of the record.
Yeah, so anyway, he gave us that, which is just demos, I guess, and we listened to it last night.
That sounds great.
It was really good, yeah. And then, what was before that? Oh, there was an Autumn's tracks before that, so.
And one of the things I really like is when you have a band in here is that you hear so much music that you wouldn't hear otherwise.
Right.
And it's a great way to get introduced into something different.
Yeah, it's one of the good things about touring, actually. Some of
Meeting a
the
lot
most
of
incredible
bands up
music.
there.
Yeah, most incredible music we've encountered on the road.
It must be great to also get the kinship with the other bands out there.
Yeah, these last 2 tours in particular is when we really started. I think because the first 2 tours were sort of booked incompetently, and for that reason we ended up not sharing bills with bands that we would, be particularly into. But the last 2 tours made a little more sense, and so, especially actually in Texas, as well as a few other areas, we really encountered some great music. So.
And the next tour will be great because we'll be going out with Live to Experience.
Yeah, it's in one of the bands we met from Denton, Texas.
It's funny you should mention Texas. I had a listener write in, or someone wrote in with a question.
Yeah.
And this kind of leads to the other question I was going to ask you about Simon Raymond. I guess I'll start with that first. He has a message for you guys. He says, when they come into your studio, can you tell them that breaking into my bedroom and hiding a sheep's head under my pillow with all sorts of Earth's finest critters crawling through it is still unrevenged?
Oh, no.
Oh, man. He had his chance, man. We were in London for 5 weeks. He had a chance every night, to make our lives miserable. But yeah, we were hoping he'd forget about that.
It seems like, from what he's saying here about you guys, it seems like you really developed a great kinship there.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly in there was already a real good chemistry on just a personal level, you know what I mean, to begin with. But spending that much time together, and then especially in London, just the relationship really deepened. And then we ended up playing shows with him in Mexico City and in London and out here. And yeah, we talk to him all the time. Actually, we just talked to him today on the phone. Called us 3 times today, actually.
In the last 4 days, he's called probably 5 times, I think.
Yeah. So actually, he's mixing one of the band we're going to be touring with, Live to Experience, has a record coming out, and Simon's and Robin's label just picked it up, and they're going to be mixing it. And we have actually a track on a Nick Drake tribute coming out on Elsie and Jack.
Wow.
It's us and Simon doing a Nick Drake cover.
What song do you cover?
Time of No Reply.
Okay.
Doesn't sound anything
There's
like
little relation
Time of
to
No
the
Reply, but
I'm trying to imagine you guys doing a folky song, which
Well,
very
is,
irreverent.
we did it. I mean, we just said yes. They asked us to do it, and we said we would. And then we started listening to a little more Nick Drake than we normally would, and thought, this is not going to work. So then we just decided, forget it. We'll just basically write our own song and shove some Nick Drake lyrics in there and call it a Nick Drake song. So permission was kind of given. The record company said they didn't want covers.
Well, all the bands on the project are either slowcore or noise-oriented bands. So
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't know what they're expecting. So I think it's just experimental.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if this comes out in the U.S.
No, it is actually. Simon and us are collaborating on it, but Elsie and Jack, I think, is out of Michigan somewhere. Maybe it's Chicago. I don't know. But anyway, it's coming out here. I don't know when. In fact, I don't think I'm supposed to be talking about it, to tell you the truth. It's supposed to be like secret, and there's 2 volumes and blah blah. Anyways, it's happening.
You didn't hear that. As far as Simon goes, I have Laura out in Texas somewhere, and she can't wait for you guys to play in Texas again.
Oh,
for one.
cool.
And she was just curious how it is to work with someone that you admired growing up.
It's crazy. It was probably one of the most profound, things that happened to any of us. It's as crazy as anybody who was a Cocteau Twins fan getting a call from Simon saying, I want to work with you musically or something. It was just nuts.
So he actually contacted you.
Yeah, somebody at the label knew him and played some demos for him, and then he was into it. And so from that point forward, they set a meeting between us, and then things kind of took off from there. So
That's sweet.
yeah, it was good. Yeah.
I mean, not only to work with someone like that, but the fact that you guys really bonded as well as you did.
It's really crazy. The bonding element, particularly because once you really get to know somebody personally and become friends with them, it becomes a little more difficult to lionize them, in the way other people would. And so it makes it very strange when occasionally you go, that's Simon Raymond. You know what I mean? It hits every so often, and when it does, it's very bizarre. It's one of the most... You ever get that feeling, when you're walking around awake and you sometimes get that vague feeling that you might be sleeping.
Right.
It's a much more severe version of that, where you get the very distinct impression that you're not, awake, and then you realize you are. It's nuts. It's really weird.
Do you think he'll still produce your work in the future?
We'll work with him in the future. The next record, I'm not exactly sure, because we still have ties to the label. Even though it's defunct, we have ties to that shadowy entity behind the label.
Right.
And that's not something that Simon is willing to deal with, and none of us blame him. So if by any chance we're away from that, by the time we do the next record, I'm sure we'll do it with him. If not, we probably won't.
Is there any effort on your part, as much as you love working with him and as much as you admire the Cocteau Twins, is there any desire to maybe move beyond that and not get stereotyped or locked in?
Move beyond working with him?
In maybe an artistic sense, in that you don't want your sound shaped too much in one direction.
Well, I think what's interesting is that what we did until we worked with Simon much more obviously reflected the Cocteau Twins' influence. And now occasionally we'll read a review or something that says, Raymond's influence can really be felt on the new record, but it's not a very educated observation, because if you are really familiar with the Cocteau Twins' work and our early stuff, you realize the resemblance is much more obvious there. He actually... I don't think if he'd heard our early stuff, he would have been interested in working with us. He heard new demos that we did that were much more minimalist, and for that reason, he didn't hear the Cocteau Twins' influence at all when he first heard those demos, you know.
Yeah, I don't think he was always ever inclined to work with bands that sounded like the Cocteau Twins. He looked for very unique artists. I think he just turned demos away if it had any kind of.
He was disinclined
Cocteau
to work with anything that was, you know, obviously influenced by them.
It makes complete sense too. You don't want to just copy yourself.
Right. Which is that's gonna be repeated in the press. I don't know how much, but it will be said, you know, like, well, they sounded like the Cocteau Twins, so of course Raymond worked with them. But the opposite is actually true. So.
And one thing I've noticed as far as the band goes is that the band has grown quite a bit in the last few months. But before that, it seems that before I even really heard anything, that you got quite a bit of press.
Yeah, well, to be perfectly honest, I don't know if it's so much that we got as much press as a couple of us. I mean, I shouldn't give too much. I think there were people working on behalf of the band who really knew how to take it for all it was worth. You know what I mean? So we know everything that's been written about us. We've got it all in our files. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think the vast majority of it was very positive, and so we used that to our advantage. It's not that we take press terribly seriously, but it is a thing that's out there, and as long as it's out there, we'll use it for what it's worth. You know what I mean?
And it never hurts to have someone help you with a name.
No, the name, yeah, that's actually true. The name was probably repeated a bit more than even we realized. So.
Right, whether people were willing to work with us or not, at least everybody had heard of us. You know?
Yeah, that was
very true.
Yeah. So.
Well, I know you guys are having a show come up, and we'll talk about that during the next break. And kind of to get into that, we'll play a live track here.
Yeah.
It's called White Nights.
Yeah, it's a Psychic TV cover. It's live. It's actually just recorded with a mic. It was not really a live recording in the normal sense, but it's from the Glass House about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And it's never been heard before on the air. So
we'll hear this and a couple more of their picks, and we'll be right back. You're listening to The Indie Shop here on KBeach Radio at kbeach.org, and damn, I feel so 50s right now.
Yeah, I was just, yeah.
I feel like the Big Bopper or something.
Yeah.
And you guys want to describe your picks?
Zane, what was that? Why Do Fools Fall in Love by
that
who?
Was Frankie Lyman doing Why Do Fools Fall in Love.
And what was before that? That should be...
that was Midsummer.
Oh, yeah, Midsummer.
What was the track?
Where the Waves.
Where the Waves, yeah. That Midsummer's drummer, Steve Elkins, is temporarily functioning as our drummer. He's in 4 bands. We're planning on having Elkins Night at some point this summer, which we play with all of Steve's bands. They're all really good, actually. And what else? Oh, and Midsummer actually will be playing with us at the Glass House on May 26th, along with the Lassie Foundation and the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club and Lift to Experience. And what came before that?
And that first track, White Nights, was actually recorded at the Glass House?
That was recorded at the Glass House, yeah. But I wish I could remember who the fellow was who did it, because he was nice enough to send us a CD, but can't remember his name.
It's sweet that now you can get actually a CD of a performance you've done.
Yeah.
It was so convenient.
Well, that one actually turned out to be really, because a lot of times you don't want to hear it, you know, but that one turned out to have a really magic quality, at least on that track. Something about just the mic, you know what I mean? Just one microphone sitting out there recording it. Right. You can kind of hear people talking, and there's something really good about it. So
it all becomes part of the mood, part of the vibe. It's really nice.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And another show you guys have coming up is this Saturday.
Right, at the Hub in Fullerton, and we go on at 10 at night. I'm trying to think who else is playing near us. People Movers, right? And Bike Ride, I think, actually is playing. Yeah.
I have the whole flyer here if you guys want to see it.
Holy cow.
We don't know actually much about what's going on.
Oh, my goodness. I had no idea that it was so advertised. Well,
this is a huge event going on in Fullerton this weekend. This Saturday, actually, a free event.
We're playing with Save Ferris, and
there we are. It's a free event.
Aquabats, real big. Us and apparently all the ska bands and OC. I think Bike Ride's playing, and I think people. Yeah, they are. There it is. They're an excellent band. I wish actually I'd brought their
Bike
record.
Ride?
Yeah, have you heard them?
We have one here.
Do you?
We do have a CD. Their last CD.
The latest one.
Right.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. I just have the first one.
That's quite good.
Yeah, they're excellent. They're very, very good, and they're under-recognized at this point, which is a crying shame. I mean, I would expect them to have just a huge following because they're amazing, especially live. It's something else to watch.
I'm going to have to check that out this weekend.
Yeah.
So I guess there's going to be a ska stage and a rock stage.
Well, I think that all the ska stuff is happening during the day. That's part of the day festival, and then there's a break, I believe, and then the other 3 bands come back. People Mover, us, and Bike Ride. So,
how do you guys feel performing? I mean, is there something? Did you have to develop a style?
As far as the live show,
correct.
I don't know about the style thing. I mean, we've been
kind of evolves on its own, really.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we've been doing it for so long. You know, I mean, we've been playing. I don't know how many shows we've played in our day. Just having been in the band, you know, I mean, for this period of time, almost 8 years, we've just played and played and played. And I think after a while, something begins to sort of develop on its own. You know, so you've obviously toured extensively throughout the U.S. Yeah.
Anywhere outside of Mexico?
Just did that show in Mexico City. Played in London.
A couple shows in Canada.
Oh, we did a couple shows in Canada on the last tour.
North America.
It's mostly, mostly in the U.S. But the London show actually was really good. We did that with Simon when we were over there doing the record, and it went over just like we thought it would with a London audience. So it was sort of I don't know, almost disappointing to think about the toil involved in touring America, you know what I mean, and trying to reach an American audience, which is...
Simon was real skeptical, too. He thought the London audience would not accept us.
Right, but
it went over really well. So.
Yeah, so...
Do you guys have any plans to release the album over there?
Yeah, we have plans, but they keep being blocked by that shadowy entity that I mentioned earlier. But
that's the frustration.
Well, yeah, Bella Union, you know, was going to release it, and then, you know, this and that happened, and I'm sure that eventually it'll see the light of day over there, you know, I'm sure it will, but we're actually, it might be more likely that we release an EP over there, the one we're working on right now, actually, before we release this, because the EP we're doing right now is not connected with our would-be record company in any way.
Do you feel like your sound's still developing right now? I mean, how do you think the EP will be different from the album?
The EP's about as different from the album as anything could be. It sounds more like the last song we just heard than, you know, than it does anything else. So, I mean, it's just very, very shiny, sort of nostalgic pop. It's 5 songs and it's under 12 minutes. That gives you any idea.
But you're not actually doing doo-wop.
Well, not...
Yeah, actually... pretty close.
It's real close.
It's real 50s. It's real appropriate for that era.
Yeah, we really like it. But I mean, it is wildly different than Russet Gold, which is part of the reason why we think it's cool to release that afterwards.
It's an old idea we had that never really saw the light of day, never got a good recording, so we decided this time to actually take the songs and not try to make them cool, but try to make them as appropriately 50s as possible. Stick it to, you know, as best we can, and do anything that it warrants. And so the finished product is the most pop, shiny thing we've ever done. And
by a long shot.
I think it's great, and people are going to be very confused, but they shouldn't try and guess what we're going to do next anyway. So, but I mean, as far as full-length records, I'd say the next record's going to be a bit darker and a bit poppier. You know, kind of.
That's much more extreme.
It's going to visit both extremes.
And I think that as far as the development of the sound and whatnot, I think that our feeling is that we're really beginning to work with something, a body material that is really us coming into our own, you know what I mean? Like something that is really, truly ours, you know?
Do you think because I know you guys are starting to get some more success here within the college level. You're doing quite well on CMJ, which I'm kind of not surprised, but for a band that's getting the exposure that you're getting,
right?
You're doing very well on a national level, which is nice.
It is nice. It's nice because when the first record came out, it experienced sort of moderate success at college radio, and unfortunately there was sort of a stop put to the college radio push on that record, and so we were really hoping that things would kind of pick up where they left off, and this record's doing much better. And I mean, that's obviously the market. It's the one conduit that is largest and most effective to our kind of audience is the college radio market, so it's good to see that doing well there.
Do you think that the success you're getting now, is that affording you the ability to branch off into different directions within your influences and interests?
Well, I think that really the level of success the band experiences and what we do musically are totally disconnected. And I'm not just saying that because it sounds, punk rock or something, but that's just kind of how it's always been, the art realm and the realm of what we do musically is a very private world that has nothing to do with the outside world. I mean, it has something to do with it in the sense that, of course, the outside world is what we live in and, what we're influenced by and whatnot. But in terms of thinking ahead to what we're going to do next or anything, there's never a thought of, anything commercial. We just kind of get involved in our own little world and, go to work.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the best music is. Unfortunately for us, it's never been much of a struggle. I think part of the reason is because there's always been such a sort of eclectic mix of music, you know what I mean? The last two records were a lot more sort of monolithic than I think anything we'll do in the future. But they don't really reflect all the kinds of things we can do, which is why you're getting these extremities. Why Winter in a Silver Box, that EP was completely over the edge, over the top noise. Everything's 20 minutes long and there's no lyrics and blah, blah, Then you get Russet Gold, which has a very distinct minimalist kind of dark sound. And now we're making this ridiculous pop thing, which is ridiculous to the extent, that it's pop. We like it very much. But
it's EP, though, of course.
And it's extreme, These three, we seem like, I'm sure, schizophrenic people, but it's just that we write all different kinds of music. And I think after the EP, especially on the next full length, you'll start seeing more diversity.
Well, the goal, too, is with any given record to just stay as true to that record as possible and not try to worry about any other outside influences. So if we're going to do something that's dark and brooding, make sure we stick it right. And so Rusted Gold came out, and I think it made some people uncomfortable, but we were doing a very specific thing. We set out to do that, and I think we accomplished it. So it might have its weaknesses, but it's the weaknesses of that kind of thing. And then this 50s EP, we decided it actually finally succeeded this time. We recorded the whole thing once before, and it just didn't work. And I think it's working this time because we were just letting the songs breathe and letting the songs have the life that they already had. So,
just kind of playing everything right down the line. You know what I mean? There's a tendency sometimes as an artist when something comes out of you it's moving in an extreme direction. You want to temper that because it makes you more comfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think both with Rusted Gold and with this, we just said, no, we're going to, if it has something in it, we're going to pull that thing out and take it to the extreme, and people can like it or not like it, but it is what it is.
The records that people listen to 10 years from now are the ones that were bold, kind of on the edge, and maybe could have been big failures, but they're the records that you keep wanting to listen to over and over again. It's the records that are comfortable, that kind of you listen to it 10 times, you're done with that record, and it's in the used CD store. But we want to create records that last. That's a huge, ominous task, but we really want to try to do that with our craft.
Something that your heart's totally developed within.
Yeah.
We're actually we're closing on the 11 o'clock hour, and unfortunately they're doing some computer work tonight, so everything is shutting down. And being an internet station over the computers, the feed will shut off at 11. So unfortunately I'm going to have to end off the interview now.
No problem.
But I'm really happy you guys came in.
Thanks for having us.
And I'm definitely going to come out and see you Saturday.
Excellent.
Will you be playing any of the new songs?
No, we
played
a new song at Cafe Blue the other night. It didn't quite work out, so back to the drawing board.
That is Cafe Blue, though.
Yeah, but we need to pay a little more attention to a couple of things that we're working on. But it's going to be real good. It really is. We just need to tend to it a bit more.
Actually, in the summertime, we'll be doing we'll be presenting the 50s songs at a night at Cafe Blue.
Okay.
At a prom.
At
Cafe Blue.
Like a one-time deal.
Yeah, it'll be a nice way to.
It's gonna be a
present
barbecue
them,
at a prom.
Well, definitely let me know, and I'll let the listeners know.
Yeah, definitely.
And thanks once again.
Thank you.
And if you do have a chance to check them out, it's in Fullerton, correct?
Yeah, Fullerton at the Hub.
The Hub.
Mm-hmm. You
guys are playing about 10 o'clock?
Yep, at night.
And well worth it. We're going to end off with one of the songs from their latest album. It's called Siren Wine.
Right.
Yep.
And it is a song they actually picked. We threw a dice in the air.